We're strolling along Oakwood Cemetery, located on Chicago's south side. As you can see the lake in the background, the obelisk monument we're coming up to right now is William Big Bill Thompson. He was born on May 14th of 1868 and died on March 19th of 1944. Thompson served as mayor of Chicago from 1915 until 1923, and once again from 1927 until 1931. He was the last Republican to serve as mayor of Chicago. He was ranked one of the most corrupt mayors in American history. Born in Boston, Massachusetts, his family moved to Chicago when Thompson was a young child. His father, William Thompson Sr., was a wealthy real estate developer, and his mother was the daughter of Stephen Gale, who was one of the wealthiest old-time Chicagoans. Instead of college, Thompson opted to travel to Europe to learn all that there was to know about the European countries. After returning from his European hiatus, Thompson took up ranching in Texas and New Mexico. In 1892, his father passed away. Thompson returned to Chicago at this time and gets involved with various facets of high society life in the Windy City. Some of the activities Thompson partook in included becoming captain of the Chicago Athletic Association football team and becoming a seasoned yachtsman. On July 24th of 1893, Thompson was with his mother at their summer home in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. A drunken man by the name of Fred Schumacher had gotten into a brawl with a Mr. Block, who was, for the lack of better terms, the Thompson family butler. Schumacher was upset over the fact that Mr. Block replaced him as a family butler. Thompson, being the chivalrous gentleman that he is, tried to intervene between the two men beating the crap out of each other, when Schumacher swung a blow at Thompson. Thompson returned the favor in a soft manner of sorts, and a very plastered Schumacher fell over unconscious. He pretty much dropped dead. The doctors ruled that Thompson's weak blow had nothing to do with the death, and that Schumacher more than likely died from an alcoholic epilepsy. In 1901, Thompson took a gamble when he was elected alderman of the old 2nd Ward. After serving as alderman, he took a position as Cook County board member from 1902 until 1904. In 1915, he was elected mayor of Chicago. During his first term in office as mayor of Chicago, many of the citizens of the city disliked his pacifist stance towards the First World War. Nonetheless, he was re-elected in 1919, collecting 20,000 of the votes over his opponent. In 1920, while Thompson was mayor, he tried to sue the Chicago Tribune newspaper for $500,000 for libel against the notation of mentioning his war records in the newspaper. The case led to a mistrial and for some odd reason was never retried. In 1921, the Tribune newspaper tried to sue Thompson in an attempt to get him and his buddies to refund the city the astronomical amount of almost $2 million in real estate expert fees, which were paid out to Thompson and his greedy friends. A judge found Thompson and his companions guilty as sin, but the verdict was later overturned by the Illinois Supreme Court in 1930. I personally wouldn't be surprised if a few bribes were handed over to the judges, as the notation was stated that there was no evidence in which suggested that Thompson and his friends tried to defraud the city. Moving along, in 1923, George Breman selected William E. Deaver as having the best chance of defeating incumbent Mayor William Big Bill Thompson. For some reason, Thompson didn't feel confident in winning the election, so he merely withdrew from the race, leaving Republican Arthur Luter up against the Chicago Democratic machine. Luter easily got his rear end handed to him and lost to Deaver. The honest, hard-working citizens of Chicago were fed up with Thompson's example of an administration who were insanely lax against gangster rule. Once the reformed mayor Deaver was in office, the gangsters hightailed it to the suburbs, where they continued their acts of mayhem. Deaver ran for re-election in 1927. The citizens of Chicago must have missed the days of gangsterism, because Deaver got his rear end handed to him by losing the election by 83,000 votes. The days of gangsterism was back, and reform was out, as the gangsters moved back to the city of Chicago in droves. In 1936, Thompson made a blunder of an attempt at the governor position of Illinois. I can only imagine what would happen if Thompson became governor. In 1939, Thompson tried his hand once again and runs for Chicago mayor, but was defeated by Edward J. Kelly. On March 19, 1944, William Big Bill Thompson passes away after suffering a heart attack while lounging around in an oxygen tent at his luxurious Blackstone Hotel suite. At the time of his death, he had been ill for several weeks and had been suffering a severe chest cold. He was 74 years old at the time when he passed away. On a final thought, I highly recommend checking out the William Thompson page on myalcaponemuseum.com. Or if you're more inclined to do so, you can check out the Wikipedia page on Big Bill Thompson.